Venus and Leo. So Venus and Leo, right? You people now, you feel let down when people don't stick around you. You kind of need them around to have fun. There is no fun without people. You couldn't be alone. And then certain people that you love and care about more than others, mostly care about more than others, you're like, I need this person here. We'll have fun. And it's like not just that, they need to see the importance of my existence, above all else. Why are you gonna like key calls to somebody else for even a second? You know, I am the person that makes shit fun in this relationship. I'm the person that, makes things, I bring light to, situations and lets you know what other people, might be doing that ain't so fun. And like, but you use that sometimes as a manipulative tool, and you're like, stay the fuck away from that person. There's no fun over there. There's nothing, going on that is fun. That shit is dry. That shit is boring. You would not get anything out of that. And you might be right. Maybe, but maybe you're actually wrong, and maybe you gotta let go of some people. And you don't have to be so hateful, like, oh my god, I have to let this person go. I have to, disregard them for some time because they are, heeding calls to other people, or other people's words, or whatever it might be. It might be just, they're going to talk to somebody about something like not important, like, or something important, but it's not like, important to you. And like they're just talking to that person. They really just talking to that person. They ain't trying to fuck around or anything like that. But in your mind, that's what it is. You know. And then if they do, you probably would have to cut those people off. They betrayed your loyalty. They betrayed your everything. You were somebody who brought light into their life. Made shit fun. But at some point, they were like, they felt like they needed to, betray you and do some other shit. But you have to know the difference between, somebody just going to talk to somebody else for a second and not coming right back. And not that they ain't ever gonna like they ain't gonna forget that you're that person that keeps shit live and other shit. They ain't gonna ever forget that. But in your mind, sometimes you feel that way, and you're like, God damn, I feel like I'm being betrayed. I feel like I might need to sub you in, or I need to sub you in for somebody else, because you're going around talking to these people. I don't like those people. They are not somebody I want to associate with. you know and you're gonna have to just roll with it, and keep doing what you do. You'll always attract some type of people, but just know, for the ones that you really care about, you know maybe they didn't hate you, or anything. They just needed to get the fuck away from you, because you were kind of, maybe not suffocating them, but maybe you were suffocating them from, they didn't want to feel manipulated by what you had going on. So it is fun and everything where you are, right? But other people have things going on too. And they wanted to see and investigate because they're curious. See, these people that you might have had around that you love so much were curious about, and just like, what is going on over there, you know? And you don't know. You just think you know what's going on over there. Because remember, you're somebody who's focused on what they love to do and bring the entertainment around you. Your only focus is that, you know. So you have to learn how to just be cool, and let people, move like that. And the person still probably does love you, but maybe not as much as, and maybe they do love you more than you think. You have to just know and not get, too, foolish about some things. They don't need to be around you all the time, but for you, that is what you prefer. You prefer people being around you most of the time. Because, like, why live this life with if you ain't gonna be around people and talk to people, and not just that, but like make shit fun for other people. And that's what you do. You do that, in the relationships that you are in. And people, who don't acknowledge that about you, you just get like, damn, like, why? Why don't you, like, acknowledge that about me? You don't have to be upset about it or anything. That's just how it is. People have real things going on too. And you are a real person too. But you gotta just let things be the way they are, and like they'll come back to you at the right time. But Venus and Leo, it's not the best placement, but it ain't the worst placement either. You know, if you can allow other people to come in to fill that void for some time, and then let it be like that. That's probably what I suggest for you. Somebody like you who needs people around and shit. But stay cool, Quan the Corner. I'll try to.